Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. We're here live on YouTube. Talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, it's been a minute, a hot minute, since we went live for one of these, so it's good to be doing this, talking to you guys in real time, because I've caught a good little rhythm here, putting out videos for a couple weeks now. So now I'm starting to catch my rhythm again and just get back into going live again, because it's fun. It's the best way to talk to people. And you guys enjoy it. I enjoy it. So yeah, let me get settled in here. Wait for some people to come. Wait for some people to come into the hangout. Make sure I'm actually live here. That my settings are all good. Videos. All right. Let's see. So it says I'm live here. See what the sound looks like. Videos. Check. All right. So it says I'm live here. See what the sound looks like. All right. So yeah, for those of you who come in, when you stop filing in, leave your comments down below. I'm just gonna run through basically the big fight to give you an itinerary of what we'll be talking about for however long I'm on here. We'll start off talking about the big fight this weekend that I've obviously been very excited about since it got made. And even before it got made, I was making videos about it. Tony Bellew versus Oleksandr Usyk. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight for the undisputed cruiserweight championship of the world. Tony Bellew, he's already stated it's going to be his last fight. He's trying to become the undisputed cruiserweight champion to end his career, go out on top, and beat what many may consider to be the best fighter in boxing in Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk is vying to become this is actually an underrated part of this fight that's not being talked about. He's actually trying to become the first undisputed cruiserweight champion to make a successful title defense, because Evander Holyfield vacated and moved to heavyweight when he became undisputed. Neil Bell didn't defend his titles, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I looked this up recently. Let me make sure I'm correct with what I'm saying, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct in what I'm saying. O'Neal Bell was the last cruiserweight champion. Let's see. He was the last cruiserweight champion. Usyk. Yeah, I was right. So he beat John Mark Mormack for the cruiserweight belts in 2006. Then he lost those same titles to John Mark Mormack in a decision about a year later. So he didn't defend the belts. Holyfield didn't defend the belts. So now you have Usyk, who's now the third undisputed cruiserweight champion, and he's not only trying to defend the belts, become the first cruiserweight champion to do so, but he's effectively, like, if he beats Bellew, he will have effectively cleaned out the entire division. Every notable name you can think of, he has defeated in the division, from the Marius Briedis, Murat Gassiev, Marco Huck, Krzysztof Glowacki. Even if you go down lower in the ranks, Michael Hunter. The guy has beaten pretty much, as far as his division, I was who's who of the weight class. And literally the only guy he did not beat in that hasn't beaten is Tony Bellew, because Tony Bellew, for his last two fights, has been what I call a pseudo heavyweight. He hasn't been a real heavyweight, but he's been fighting a heavyweight against David Haye in big money fights, and he's been scoring really good, impressive upset victories in those fights. But I mean, it's going to be a fantastic fight. I'm actually intrigued by it personally. Everybody says like that Bellew has no chance and that he can't beat a Usyk. I mean, I think it's fair to favor Oleksandr Usyk, because he is, if you would go through both the skill sets, footwork, fundamentals, literally Usyk has Bellew beaten probably every department except power. Power, you give the slight edge at cruiserweight to Bellew, but other than that, in terms of technique, footwork, speed, agility, Usyk ticks all those boxes. The only places where you can make it the case for Tony Bellew is maybe power and probably like heart, because very few guys outwill a Tony Bellew. So it's gonna be an interesting fight. I think, well, people, and I might be in the minority saying this, I really believe it's better. It's a much more competitive fight than Usyk versus Murat Gassiev, because that was the final for the World Boxing Super Series, and that was Usyk's biggest win, beating Gassiev, undefeated IBF champion, knocking dudes out left and right. He was the class of the division, and Usyk went in there and reduced him into a nothing fighter. and that just showed how special he was on that night. But the thing is, Gassiyev's style and the way he fights is a lot more tailor-made than Bellew's. You know, Gassiyev is, you know, he's one of those fighters where if you have good footwork, good balance, you can punch from different angles, you have good defense. He's one of those guys you can get to you can get to reset, and more importantly, if you can outwork him, if you can out-punch him in terms of number of punches thrown, you can offset a lot of his movement. And if you can offset a lot of his movement, then you offset the best things that he's good at: power, loading up on punches, and getting to that body. And that's what Usyk was able to do. And he broke him down round by round by round by round, and he reduced him to a nothing fighter on the night. And it's like Roy Jones Jr. said when he had a song, he had that one song, y'all must have forgot. He said, and y'all say I had the nerve to y'all had the nerve to say I ain't fighting nobody. I just make him look like nobody. Y'all must have forgot. Roy Jones said that, and that's kind of what Usyk did on that night against Gassiev. But see, with Bellew, the reason I believe this fight is more competitive, even though Bellew, look at pretty much every department with the exception of power, he's outmanned in every department. But what Bellew has that Gassiev didn't have, and many other of Usyk opponents didn't have, is he has world-class experience. Like, he's been in there with like just top names. He boxing IQ wise, I don't think he gets the credit he really deserves for his boxing IQ. He showed that in the David Haye fights. He showed that maybe he's not the fastest guy in the world. Maybe he doesn't move as quick as other fighters, but he understands positioning. He understands where to be in the ring. And when you're fighting a guy like Usyk, whose understanding for positioning and his balance and his fundamentals are so just elite, you need to have the level of ring intelligence, ring IQ, and awareness that Tony Bellew has. And when you have those things, it puts you in a position to fight your fight. You know, when you're outmanned, or you're fighting a guy that will be perceived as more talented than you in mostly every department, you got to go in there and do your best to fight your fight, the fight that works for you. And the fight that will work for Bellew, and the fight I would use to say, you go back and you watch his older fights, the fight that he's gonna have to fight against Usyk if he wants to beat him, he's gonna have to model something more of like what he did against Bulanga Mukabu when he fought at Goodison Park and won the world title. I watched that fight this morning, and he fought Mukabu. Granted, Mukabu is a shorter cruiserweight. He is not a gold medalist. He doesn't have amateur experience, you know, out the ass like Usyk does. But what Mukabu does have in similarities to Usyk is he's a southpaw. He's very sharp with his left hand coming down the middle. And I would even venture to say that he's a better power puncher than Usyk. So in some ways, Bellew had more to worry about in some areas with Mukabu than he did with Usyk. And Bellew's going to have to model that fight. He's going to have to crowd Usyk. He's going to have to take a lot of risks like it did in the Mukabu fight. So like if you go back and you watch round one of that fight, right? Round one of that fight against Mukabu, Bellew pretty much had his way. You know, he was able to cut the ring off, which is going to be very difficult against Usyk, but he was able to cut the ring off against Mukabu, get him back into the ropes. Mukabu was sitting back trying to set traps and counterpunch off the ropes. And what Bellew was able to do was he was able to land really vicious body shots. But see, the problem with Bellew is sometimes when you get him when he has that kind of success, and he has you pinned against ropes, he can get a little wild. You know, like most fighters, he can get a little wild. And that's what happened. He was landing really good body shots. You can kind of see Mukabu grimacing from the body shots. He was getting touched up on the head a little bit. And then what wound up happening is once Bellew ran out of a little gas, he took a step back, and then he tried to throw those same combinations in the middle of the ring. And then he didn't move his head off the line, and he got counterpunched with a straight left hand and got knocked down. But then as the fight wore on, he made the adjustments. You know, he was picking his shot. When that same situation presented itself in the third round, he was, you know, he wasn't overcommitting as much to his punches. And then what he was able to do was he was able to pick the right shots at the right time, and you know he was able to eventually set that what's one of his money punches, which is his left hook. And that's going to be a punch that if he is to beat Usyk, because he's not going to outbox Usyk. He is not going out, but he needs to stop Usyk if he wants to win. And the punch that he needs to find a way to land and land as much as humanly possible is the left hook. So the fight within the fight for me from Bellew's side of things is how do you get Usyk to sit there and fight you for a prolonged period of time? Because if you can do that, you can beat Usyk. You see what I'm saying? And then from the Usyk side of things, you're fighting a guy in Bellew who is so confident in himself to the point where he is borderline delusional. But it's that same confidence, that same delusion that's gotten him this far. So you can't knock him for that. Bellew, for as much people want to say he's a fat cruiserweight, he's this, he's that, he has fantastic stamina, and Usyk is going to have to earn. If he's going to outclass Bellew, he's going to have to earn every last bit of it. If he thinks he's going to go in there and put on like a CF type of performance against Bellew, you have to earn every last bit of it. And the way you do that against Bellew is, what you got to do with him is really not like he's actually the opposite of most fighters in boxing. So you see, so like a lot of guys in boxing, you want them to get angry, get out of character, start flailing away, and you want them to emotionally be involved in the fight. You want that to happen, right? With Bellew, you don't want that to happen because he's a fighter that very much feeds off of the energy of the crowd. He's a fighter that very much, I would even say, he's someone that he's better when he's pissed off. You see what I'm saying? He's better when he's pissed off because he's one of the few fighters in boxing, I believe, that knows how to harness. He can harness being pissed off or anger and use it to his advantage. But very few fighters can do that. So for Usyk, you want to make this as boring of a fight as possible. You want to pick your shots from the outside. You want to make him miss and make him pay when he does overcommit on shots. And you want him to just, by the third or fourth round, already have known, the third or fourth round, that I am Oleksandr Usyk. I am a gold medalist, undefeated, undisputed world champion boxer in 15 fights. You're good, but I'm great. I'm special. I'm world class. I'm once in a lifetime. That's what he needs to do to Tony Bellew in this fight. And it's one of those, not to sound like a boxing promoter, but it's one of those fights where I just see it as, skill versus will. You have a guy who's supremely skilled, and that's why he's gotten to where he's gotten in boxing. And then you have a guy who has an incredible will, which is why he's gotten to where he's gotten to in boxing. So I'm looking very forward to it. Just to go through the measurables of both fighters, Tony Bellew will come into this fight at 6'3" with a 74-inch reach. Oleksandr Usyk will come into the fight at 6'3" with a 78-inch reach advantage. So Usyk's got a 4-inch reach advantage, which I don't think is which is good for him. He doesn't need a whole lot anyway to work with. But Bellew's fought guys with long reaches. So overall, I think it's a good fight. I think it's definitely something worth watching. I'm happy that I'll be off this weekend to freaking watch the fight live because I haven't really had a chance to watch any of the DAZN fights live since I got DAZN. So pretty excited about that. And yeah, it's gonna be a good fight. I obviously I'm favoring Usyk, but I'm not gonna be surprised if Bellew wins the fight. I've always said that Tony Bellew is a fighter that does not get the credit he deserves. I think he's one of the best fighters in boxing. I think he's one of the more intelligent fighters in boxing, but like people just always want to discredit his wins. And so that's just what it is. But to run through some of the other card, I'm gonna get back to the main event. To run through the rest of the card and just guys who are fighting on that card. You got David Allen fighting on that fight. He's fighting Ariel Bracamonte, who's 8-1. You got Josh Kelly in his 8th professional fight, fighting welterweight Journey Walter Castillo. He's fought guys like Amir Imam and guys like that. So that's be good to see Josh Kelly back on the card. Ricky Burns will be fighting on the card. Anthony Cross. So just pretty much the whole undercard is a stay busy fight. So you're not really, I don't want to say you're not missing much, but there's no matchup where you look at the undercard and say, damn, that's a fight I got to see. Maybe Josh Kelly versus Walter Castillo because Josh Kelly's just that fun to watch. But Bellew Usyk, man, just a really good fight. And I'll say this, man, Bellew had every reason to retire after the David Haye fight because, you had accomplished everything you'd wanted to at that point. You'd been in a movie. You won a world title at Goodison Park. You're for where Everton plays. You have beaten David Haye in 2 big rivalry fights that people counted you out in. This is really just a bonus. If he wins the fight's really just a bonus on his career because the man's done everything he could have possibly wanted in boxing other than become undisputed. So he's trying to do that. You got to commend him because a lot of times guys don't take those challenges or they say, well, I'm not good enough to beat that guy. This guy's too good. He's too risky. But Bellew's taking the challenge, so you give him kudos for that. Usyk is trying to make history in his own right. And more importantly, to be an undisputed champion in boxing these days, it costs you money. It costs you money on top of money on top of money. And Usyk is going to pay, I haven't done the math, but he's going to probably pay a crap ton of sanctioning fees for this fight. So, shout out to him, man. He's shown that he's a true champion in every sense of the word. But now that we got, 9 people in here, Let me see what the comments are saying. The Texan says that there has not been an undisputed champion in over 10 years to make a defense. And that's probably, yeah, that's in all of boxing, I'm assuming. So, yeah, that's a good point there from the Texan. And by the way, shout out to you, the Texan. Thank you for joining the hangout. Craig Bellew says, and it's against the WBC champion in recess. That's true. Bellew was, or he is, the emeritus champion. So that's a good point there, Craig. Craig McNulty says, shout out from Craig in Oxford, England. Hey, Craig, what's up, man? Shout out to you over there in Oxford. Hope you're doing okay. And anybody else that's here right now, leave your comments down below just about this fight this weekend between Bellew and Usyk. What do you think is going to happen? Give me your opinions on their styles, just all that good stuff, man. Because that's what we're going to do is talk boxing. But yeah, so the last time, so what I find interesting about Bellew's career, right, is if you look at like his best opponents, right, best fighters ever fought in his career, Adonis Stevenson, Makabu, and then now Usyk. They all have one thing in common, and that's the fact that they're all southpaws, right? So Bellew has had, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, he's had quality experience against southpaws, which I think will serve him well in this fight. In the Stevenson fight, he was very weight drained, and Stevenson at that time was really operating at a high level. So, you can't fault him for losing to Stevenson at that point in time. Then you have the fight against Makabu. We've gone through that before. Makabu is a very underrated fighter. He's the only fighter besides Bernard Hopkins to stop Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson's had like a 90-fight career. So that kind of shows you what kind of fighter he is. And he's beating Tabasha Mchunu, who's a good cruiserweight in his own right. So, overall, good fight. I'm looking forward to seeing how Bellew deals with the angles of Usyk, because his boxing IQ is going to be put to the test like never before. And for Usyk, I think his composure will be put to the test like never before. And that's the cat and mouse game in this fight. Is Usyk is very composed, very, very intelligent, but he hasn't had a guy in there, no disrespect to his opponents, but he hasn't had a guy that's willing to literally go in there and just straight up disrespect him to win. And Bellew's one of those guys where he will disrespect you. He'll do whatever he's got to do to win the damn fights. So that makes the fight interesting to me. And yeah, that makes the fight interesting to me. So I got Usyk. I think the logical choice in this fight would be Usyk winning a decision. But my heart says Bellew by stoppage victory, because that's what we want to happen. But I'm gonna go with Usyk via unanimous decision in tough competitive rounds where he really has to earn everything he gets. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to it. Just so you know, for those of you guys who may be wondering, because I haven't had a chance to do any of these in a while, I just found out because I got a job recently, and I've been working a lot of hours, so sometimes I don't always know where I'm going to be off, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the live fight reactions. But you have my word here right now, unless a family emergency comes up or something crazy like that. I will be here Saturday covering Bellew versus Usyk. There will be a live fight reaction, so for those of you who like those live fight reactions, I'll be having one on Saturday for Bellew versus Usyk, and hopefully we'll get my boy Alex to come, and it'll be a grand old time. So tune in to True School Sports for that on Saturday. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that fight. And then I also wanted to run through just like the World Boxing Super Series. This is a tournament that I loved. I loved ever since they've introduced the concept of the World Boxing Super Series. I've been fully behind it. And I think they've really outdone themselves more than ever with this junior welterweight tournament. I mean, the names they've got in this tournament: Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Ivan Baranchyk, Kyle Relic. You had Ryan Martin early on in the tournament. I'm really loving what I'm seeing, man. And I wanted to just kind of review three of the fights that I didn't get a chance to make videos about, but three fights that I had a chance to watch recently, and I had a chance to dissect them recently. And those fights were Ivan Baranchyk versus Anthony Yigit, Regis Prograis versus Terry Flanagan, and then this morning I had a chance to watch Ryan Martin versus Josh Taylor. So I'm gonna run through all of them, and then I'll preview the matchups, and then we'll go to whatever like the news and boxing today, and then you guys can drop your comments down below as I'm talking, and I'll get to them in a timely manner. But we'll start with Ivan Baranchyk versus Anthony Yigit. Now, this is a fight that I was very interested in because Ivan Baranchyk is someone that I followed personally on Showbox. He used to fight on those Friday night Showbox cards, and I got to follow him as a prospect when he was knocking dudes out in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And ever since then, I've been a fan of him. All of his fights were exciting. He showed incredible explosive power, just an explosive fighter, one of the more explosive fighters in boxing. And I always thought to myself, man, if Baranchyk could just get a little bit more boxing skills, get a little more movement, and stop loading up on so many of his punches, he had a chance to be a very, very good fighter. And he's hooked up with Pedro Diaz, a good trainer. Trains way down there in Miami at the Mundo Boxing Gym. Haven't had a chance to go there, but I want to at some point. But underrated trainer Pedro Diaz. Pedro's implemented a little bit more movement into Ivan Barancyk's style, and you're seeing him move, throw his jab a little more, work it in there a little more. And in this fight with Usyk, I thought to date it was his best performance. Usyk is a good slick boxer from Europe. Doesn't have the most punching power in the world, but he was definitely going to pose problems to Baranchyk if Baranchyk wasn't moving or wasn't committing to his jab properly or couldn't land any big punches. So I thought Baranchyk did a good job in this fight, just overall of moving and really just using. What I found interesting was Usyk is more of the slick boxer. Usyk is more of the guy that you would say, well, he has more boxing fundamentals. He has you would think he would have, based on his style, better footwork, right? But it was actually Baranchyk in the first round. Like, if you go back and watch that fight, in the first round, Baranchyk starts establishing himself early on, and he's landing clean punches, whether they be hooks to the body or straight rights to the head. He's landing these clean punches because of the footwork and the positioning he's getting to land these punches. And by round two, he's pretty much having his way with Usyk. Like, Usyk is hanging in there. He's game. He's doing what he can. But just that little bit of boxing skill opened up the floodgates for Baranchyk to really unload that power. And when Baranchyk can land and throw those punches with any sort of ferocity, he becomes tough for anybody in this weight class to beat. I don't care what you say. And like I saw maturity in this fight, like in this fight with Usyk. Usyk in many ways he's very similar to a fighter that Baranchyk fought earlier this year. Earlier this year, Baranchyk fought Peter Petrov, another kind of like slick southpaw boxer. And when he fought Peter Petrov, right, it was kind of the same fight. Like early on, he overwhelms him with his power. He starts really touching him to the body, touching him to the head, and you start seeing what makes this guy a good fighter, right? But then, Peter Petrov began to win a couple rounds, to steal a couple rounds off Ivan. And Ivan seemed to have been running out of ideas, in this fight with Peter Petrov. And it took him maybe 2 or 3 rounds to really reestablish his dominance. And then eventually he got a stoppage victory because he was just landing so many thunderous punches and hard punches on Peter Petrov. So the difference in this fight was Usyk had his moments. He had his moments where we hung in there and he was trading with Ivan Baranchyk, but Baranchyk didn't allow Usyk to sustain any momentum. He still maintained footwork. He still maintained the ability to land his jab, to land his power punches, and fight his fight. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a power puncher, boxer puncher, swarmer, pure boxer, whatever, you got to go in there and fight the fight that works for you. And Baranchyk has found new ways. And this is what I think is good about him. He's finding new ways to be able to fight the fight that's best for him, which is to attack that body and really impose himself as far as his power on his opponents. So, it was a really good fight. I think if you haven't seen the Ivan Baranchyk Anthony Usyk fight, you should go see it because you had Usyk and Baranchyk delivering some really good exchanges. In my book, Usyk is a good European fighter, fringe contender. And he's someone that I would like to see again in the future because he showed just even in a loss, he showed that, hey, I can go in there, I can bang a little bit, I can definitely box. So I think for him, he just needs to work on being able to box off his back foot more, and he'll be better for it. So overall, Baranchyk did well. He scored a 7th round stoppage. The referee in the position stopped it. and he's going to be moving on, and he'll be fighting Josh Taylor. And that kind of leads me into my next fight that I watched this morning. Josh Taylor fought Ryan Martin also in this tournament, and let it be noted, if you haven't heard me say this already, let it be noted that I've went on record before this tournament started. The minute I saw the brackets come out, I said Josh Taylor is winning the World Boxing Super Series. Josh Taylor is the best fighter in that tournament, and I mean, hold on. Bellew, not Bellew, Josh Taylor, I should say. He's the best fighter in the tournament, and it's not even just about his skill set; it's also about quality of experience. Because I think his fight with Ryan Martin, because that's what I'm talking about now. His fight with Ryan Martin really exhibited the difference between what good matchmaking can do for your career and what soft matchmaking can do for your career. Because on the surface, Ryan Martin has had more fights. He's had 22 fights. He's had a good amateur career. He was one of the top U.S. amateurs before he turned pro, right? But he hasn't had that quality ring experience to get him ready for a fight of this magnitude. But then on the other hand, you have Josh Taylor, who hasn't even been pro. He has literally not even been a pro for 3 years yet. He's had 14 fights in basically 2 years. And he's fought the likes of O'Hara Davies in a good prospect fight. When O'Hara Davies was undefeated, took his O. He fought Miguel Vasquez, former world champion, one of the more durable fighters in his weight class. And Vasquez has been in there with good fighters like Javier Fortuna and guys like that. Dominated him, became the first man to stop him like no tomorrow. Then he fought a guy that pretty much, if you've been following boxing for the last 3 years on a hardcore level, you know who this man is. He fought Victor the Iceman Postal. And Victor Postal, man, at one point in time, he was looked at to be one of the consensus top 2 fighters at 140. And Josh Taylor passed that test with flying colors against Victor Postal. So he's been moved up gradually, slowly, really, really well. And he's gotten quality ring experience. And Ryan Martin hasn't had that ring experience. And it's shown this night because when Ryan Martin went to Scotland to fight Josh Taylor, the moment, the occasion, the stage, it just looked too big for him. You go in there and you watch a fight, and you go in there and you watch the fight, and Ryan Martin, the first 3 to 4 rounds, he's just like super, super tense. Pretty much the whole fight, he's very tense, and he's like a basic fighter, hands up here, walking towards Josh Taylor, not really throwing any sort of combinations. And then when he does throw any sort of punches, Josh Taylor's immediately on his ass, throwing really sharp shots to the body, to the head, and just really showing the speed, fundamentals, and timing that lead me to believe that he is the best fighter in this weight class. So that being said, man, Josh Taylor versus Ryan Martin was a complete mismatch. But it was a mismatch not because Ryan Martin isn't a good fighter, he's not talented. It was a mismatch because of the quality of experience that Josh Taylor has over Ryan Martin, even though he has less fights. And that's why when you hear me talk about certain guys being babied in their career, it's for these reasons. Because sometimes you're going to step into big occasions where the moment's going to be too big for you because you haven't gotten the proper experience. So Ryan Martin, I never really thought highly of him, to be honest with you, as a pro. I think he can still become I think he'll still be a good fighter. He'll be in the mix, top 15, top 20 guy. But as far as being those elite guys, like the Josh Taylors, the Prograis, those guys, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He doesn't have he doesn't have it. I don't think he has the experience or really the talent. I don't think he's going to be a great pro. But I think I got to commend him for at least going to Scotland, taking the challenge for Josh Taylor. But Josh Taylor just looked superb on this night. He showed fantastic outside boxing ability. He showed just really, really good inside boxing ability, short inside shots. He would come, touch him up top, shoot a hook to the body, take a step back, reset, turn, and then he just had Ryan Martin at his will. He had Ryan Martin at his will from round 1 to round 7. And there was not 30 seconds of that fight where you can pick out and say, man, Ryan Martin won those 30 seconds. I mean, it was that dominant, that decisive of a performance from Josh Taylor. And the more I watch Josh Taylor, the more I like Josh Taylor, the more I think this guy will become potentially a unified champion. Maybe the guy in the division. Obviously, there's another guy from New Orleans who I think is going to give him a hell of a run for his money, and that's what I hope is the final. But this is definitely a guy, like, not to ramble on too much, but Josh Taylor is the exact type of fighter I would have loved to see Terrence Crawford fight when Terrence Crawford was in 140. Because he's the exact kind of fighter that would have given Crawford a lot of problems. Long, rangy, athletic, supreme fundamentals, amazing punch placement. Just a guy that has the makings of becoming an A-level fighter, no doubt about it. So just amazing performance. All I can say from Josh Taylor in his 7th round stoppage victory over Ryan Martin, he showed his level on the night, and he showed why many people, not just myself, but many people who are in the know in boxing are picking Josh Taylor to win this tournament. And he's gonna get it. And to kind of preview his next matchup, he's gonna be fighting Ivan Baranchyk in the semifinal, and that to me is going to be a fantastic test for him, because Baranchyk, as I've mentioned, is a way different fighter than Ryan Martin. He is a guy that loves to crowd you. He's implemented a little bit more movement since he hooked up with Pedro Diaz as a trainer. Someone that is not kind of going there and just fold his hands up like Ryan Martin and take body shots the whole fight. He's going to go in there, and he's going to go in there and inflict some pain on Josh Taylor, and it's going to be the ultimate test of composure, of skill, of just everything that makes Josh Taylor really good. Entire skill set, his overall talent, and who he is as a fighter. That's an interesting fight to me for that reason, and also because if you look at like Ryan, his last 2 opponents, Josh Taylor, he's fought Ryan Martin, he's fought Victor Postal, and both those guys are basically 6 foot tall, 140 pounders, and they are massively tall for their weight class, right? Baranchyk is a regular size 140 pounder. If anything, you might even say he's slightly below average as far as 140 pounds. So it's a new challenge for Josh Taylor. He hasn't fought a guy this size, with this type of a skill set, with these type of dimensions. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with a guy like Baranchyk in front of him. And many people are picking Baranchyk as a dark horse in the tournament. So, to me, this is the more exciting semifinal fight, because the other one will be Prograis versus Kyle Relic. I'm more intrigued by this one. I think this one is going to be more exciting. So that's my thoughts on the Josh Taylor fight. And then last but not least, Regis Prograis versus what's his name, Terry Flanagan, and they fought in New Orleans. And to me, when people talk about Regis Prograis and they talk about this guy being one of the best American fighters, so I've even heard people in boxing world, like not very many, but maybe a handful, say that they think this is the best American fighter, the best fighter America has to offer at the moment. When you watch him fight, you see why. You see why people think that, because the guy just has it. He has it in the ring. He has that it factor. He has a complete skill set. The guy, for one, let's start off with how he fights. He is an awkward fighter. He's an awkward southpaw with fantastic defensive skills. But he has that right pinch of aggression, and that right pinch of aggression, and he knows when to go hot and he knows when to go cold. He knows when to hold him and he knows when to fold him. And you saw just how good he was against Terry Flanagan. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like Terry Flanagan is this great fighter, because let's face it, even when Terry Flanagan held that WBO title, he was not a very high regarded champion. But at the same time, this was a guy in Terry Flanagan that he was a world champion, and he defended that belt a good 5 times. Yeah, it wasn't against the best opposition. He beat the Derry Matthews and the Peter Petrovs of the world, so not the best guys. And then he ultimately lost it to Maurice Hooker on the road at home. So he wasn't a highly regarded champion, but he was a guy that was able to still show that he was some sort of quality. And for Prograis to go in there and pretty much outclass him, because even when he lost to Hooker, that's the thing you got to remember. Terry Flanagan, even though he lost to Hooker, Maurice Hooker, he was never he didn't get outclassed by Maurice Hooker. That fight really could have went either way. It was a split decision victory for Maurice Hooker. So this is really the first time in his 30-plus fight career where Terry Flanagan looked completely like he was minor league compared to who he was in the ring with. And I think that says more about Prograis than it does about Flanagan. So in this fight, you know, it's kind of the same thing like the Josh Taylor Ryan Martin fight. The Ryan Martin fight, Ryan Martin was way out of his element. In this fight, Regis Prograis was showing, you know, Terry Flanagan all kinds of different looks. You know, he was changing levels, basically meaning that, like, you know, 1 minute he'd be here, the next minute he'd be here, the next minute he'd be here. He was changing his levels as far as where his head was, where his punches are coming from, changing the angles. You know, he showed incredible head movement, which was able to offset a lot of what Flanagan wanted to do, and you could tell he was just very tense and tight the whole night. His punches weren't coming out really fluidly at all, and Prograis just outclassed him, you know. So the first round of the World Boxing Super Series, the word we're just going to use, excluding the Baranchenko fight, because that fight was pretty good. For Prograis, for Josh Taylor, they just outclassed their opponents, and to me, I thought since the tournament started that was going to be the final. I think that's the fight of the tournament, and that's a fight that's a final that I really want to see. And I'm crossing my fingers that fight happens. That's like one of the fights in boxing that I want to see, because Prograis' athleticism, his awkwardness, his ring intelligence, his boxing IQ, his speed, his athleticism, his boxing fundamentals that he mixes in there with all that stuff is going to be such a challenge for the Josh Taylor to figure out, because Josh Taylor, while he is probably more technically sound, while he is more a better body puncher than Regis Prograis, he's never fought a fighter with that level of athleticism, because the fighters he's fought, Ryan Martin, stiff, Victor Postal, stiff, Miguel Vazquez, not really that athletic. So it'll be the most athletic fighter he's ever fought, and I think that within itself is interesting enough for me to want to see that final. And they're both just fantastic fighters. I think these are both. I think Prograis, I think Josh Taylor, I think these are both guys that when we look at, as long as they continue to get better with their careers, I think they're going to be people that that we can say are A-level fighters at some point. They'll be the creme de la creme of the division. That is my personal opinion. But that's my review of the World Boxing Super Series fights thus far. To get to the comments, because I have missed some comments, let's get to them. Let's see. We got Lad. Shout out to my man Lad. He says Usyk has a much bigger reach 78 than the other southpaw Bellew beat Makabu 74, which could be a factor. But if the Usyk that fought Breedis turns up, then Bellew will be able to hit Usyk a lot. I fear for Usyk if he gets into a war with Bellew. Absolutely, man, because, you know, Usyk, well, I'll say this, not Usyk, Bellew, his knockout percentage at cruiserweight is very, very good. I think it might even be damn near 100, because, well, his first cruiserweight fight was against Valerie Brudoff, right? He fought Valerie Brudoff in his first cruiserweight fight. That was in 2014. And he fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He fought 8. He's fought 8 times at cruiserweight, and he's got what? So he's in his 8 cruiserweight fights. He scored 6 knockouts. The only 2 guys that go the distance with Tony Bellew at cruiserweight are Nathan Cleverly and Matus Masternak, and you know, so and the guy, and then when you go and look at the guy he's knocked out. The guys like BJ Flores, the guys like Makabu, you know, those guys are like Makabu. Flores is not the creme de la creme of the division, but Flores has never in his career been embarrassed. Like at that point in time, he has never been embarrassed like he was against Bellew. You know, he had a fight against Shumanov where I know he lost, but he wasn't outclassed like he was against Bellew in that fight. So that was a great win. I think we kind of overlooked that win. That was a really good win for Bellew. And then the Makabu fight, which I try to highlight as much as possible because people just don't understand. Makabu is a very underrated fighter. So yeah, Usyk's in danger. If he gets into war with Bellew, he is definitely in massive trouble because Bellew has a very good left hook. Bellew has shown the ability to land that left hook. And believe it or not, being as fat as he is and not being known for his athleticism, Bellew throws really, really fast combinations when he puts them together. So, you know, especially at cruiserweight. So Usyk must be mindful of that. Mr. E says, I'm watching from Florida. Shout out to you, Mr. E. What part of Florida you watching from? You know where we at. Greatest city in all Florida, in all the world. Dania Beach. My man AD, shout out to AD, says, "You lad, I don't think." Oh, he's talking to you, lad. He's saying, "I don't think Usyk will go to war with Bellew, bro. He's too smart and good to do that, as it's the only way Usyk could lose this fight." And that's true. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's a challenge. Can Usyk be disciplined enough for 12 rounds to not be lured into a fight with Bellew? You know, that to me is like the fight within the fight. He went to war with Breedis mid-fight, though, and Usyk was getting beat up. Bellew will end Usyk. You know, to be honest, everybody's. I've heard people say that about the Breedis Usyk fight. I don't think Breedis really was beating him up that badly. I mean, he landed a couple decent body shots, but Usyk took them pretty well. I'll have to disagree with you on that one. Maybe I have to go back and rewatch it. Niall Daniel says, "Who are we talking about?" He says, "Oh, Prograis. Flanagan doesn't have an amazing resume. He's a decent win, though. Flanagan kept going in with his head against Hooker." Yeah, he was. He was leading with his head a lot against Hooker, and you know, we're not saying that Flanagan is a great fighter, but we're just saying like of the other guys that, you know, Yiggett, Ryan Martin, and Flanagan, and Edward Tarnowski, he's definitely the most accomplished. He's definitely someone that you could say is that's a respectable win if you dominate him the way Prograis did. So, yeah, man, my take on that. But let's see. We got let's go to the news. I'm going boxing scene. Let's go to the news. Let's see what's being reported today. Now I know I saw one guy commented about the Mayweather thing. I'm not in the Japanese guy. That's a circus show. This is True School Sports. As you can see by the hoodie, these are two guys boxing each other. Okay, this is a boxing channel, not a circus channel. Okay, if you want a circus channel, you can go over to the channel. I'm not gonna give them no clout, but you know the channel. Go over there. So let's go through some of the news, man. Let's go through some of the news. Got Arizona Lara. Arizona Lara wants to be VADA tested 365 days a year. Interesting. So apparently, according to this boxing article, Arizona Lara has actually asked VADA to sign him up for 365-day year-round testing through the WBA's fair boxing program. Not the clean boxing program, but the fair boxing program, which is 365-day testing. It is also worth noting, I didn't even know this myself, so this is actually good for me that I'm reading this article, that the WBC has actually ordered Lara to fight Julian J. Rock Williams in the final eliminator for Jamel Charlo's WBC belt. So he's going to be taking the testing for that fight year out. I ain't mad at that. You know, Lara is a good fighter. Obviously, you know, if you put him in there with guys that he's better than, where he's like way above their level, he puts on boring fights. When you put Lara in there with quality fighters, guys who can make him fight and guys that can make him have to dig deep into that arsenal of his, you get exciting fights like Hurd versus Lara. That was an exciting fight to me. So I think a fight versus Julian Williams, you know, it'll be a good test for Lara. Julian Williams is a skilled boxer, puncher, good head movement, flashy combinations. Should be a good matchup, man. I don't know when that fight's going to happen, but I look forward to that fight with a lot of intrigue because I think either one of those guys matches up really well with Jamel Charlo. Particularly, you know, Lara matches up well with anybody because of style. It's, you know, he's such a textbook good boxer. But if Williams can find a way to beat Lara, which is going to be a big ask, then I would love to see him get a fight with Jamel Charlo because he got knocked out by the bigger Charlo. But I don't know if the younger one can do it, so I would like to see that. But yeah, good to see Lara doing. A lot of people are saying that a lot of people always go on about how they want these boxes to be clean, but then when a guy actually tries to be clean, like we had Benito Donaire advocate for 365-day testing and do it himself, and he's doing it himself. And big shout out to him. He's got a big win over Brian Burnett in his first in his fight in the World Boxing Super Series. But a lot of times in boxing, as boxing fans and even like people who cover boxing on YouTube, like it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negative. Like this guy failed this drug test, this guy failed that drug test. But then when a guy actually steps up to the plate and he wants to take on the drug testing for the whole year, you know, you gotta commend him. So, you know, big respect to Lara. You know, I respect Lara. Been to a couple of his fights here in South Florida. and they've been fun to go to. So I look forward to his fight with Julian Williams, and should be a fun fight. But yeah, so you got that. I'll probably be making a video on that soon, so stay tuned for that. Let's see. We got Jarrett Hurd talking about he wants to fight Julian Williams, and he never underestimate him, but he thinks he KO him. So there's that. Apparently, Bob Arum is saying Danny Garcia is not an elite fighter, so I want to see what he's saying here about this. Danny Garcia disputes Bob Arum's assertion that he's not an elite fighter. Let's see, needed 2-division champion. Basically, Bob Arum is saying that Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, and Sean Porter. Basically, he's saying that pretty much all top PBC welterweights are not elite enough to beat Terrence Crawford, and he's just picking up his guy and believes that and he basically saying that he doesn't believe that Al Heyman is willing to put Errol Spence in there with Terrence Crawford. But here's the exact quote. Here's what he says. He says, all the other guys I discard, they're not in the same league as Crawford. Spence may be in the same league. I would love to make the Spence fight. You hear me now? I'm ready to make that fight next. I'm ready to make it very fair on very fair terms where no fighter or network has an advantage to do that fight. We're prepared to sit down and get that fight done, but I can't force other people into doing it. You understand? Crawford's never fought an A-level fighter. How can he be an A-level fighter if he hasn't fought any A-level fighters? The only way he can be an A-level fighter is if you fight another A-level fighter. Then he goes on by talking about Danny Garcia. And this is what Bob Arum said about Danny Garcia. He said, in regards to him being elite at 147, he said, not at 147. He's never fought an A-level fighter to me. And I'm not trying to downplay him. He's a 3-division champion. You can't take that from him. But you need at least one good win, and it's not his fault, though, because it's more about timing. There was nobody at 140 or 135 when he was there. There you have it. I'm going to respectfully disagree with Bob Arum. Like, I think Danny Garcia is still – he's on the fringe of those elite guys at the weight class. I think he needs a big win soon. If he's going to continue being in the welterweight division, he's going to need a big win soon because there's some really, really good prospects coming up that in a year's time will be very much – maybe not a year and a half to 2 years' time will be very much in the thick of things. You know, you got your guys like Daniel Usyk, Josh Kelly, guys like that. They'll be in the mix soon. And as those guys come into the mix, and as he's getting older and these guys are getting closer to their primes, he's going to need to make sure that he's doing what he has to do to stay in the fold. So, he's still an elite fighter in my book. I still rank Danny Garcia as the 5th or 6th best welterweight in the world. But, gotta just do something soon. Still had a good, and the thing is too, he still had good fights against he still had a good performance against Keith Thurman. I was here on YouTube after that fight in my post-fight live reaction. I actually thought he beat Keith Thurman in that fight. All in that fight. I just wish he would have let his hands go more. And then the Sean Porter fight, I picked him to win that fight, and he didn't win that fight. I thought he lost that one. So, even in the fight, even though he's losing, it's not like he's getting blown out. But when you lose fights and you're not getting blown out, you're always going to be somewhere around the middle of the division, even if you still have some sort of elite traits to you. So Danny has to make some improvements soon if he wants to really firmly establish himself as one of the elites in the division. Because right now he's hanging on to it by a thread. So that's that. You got let's see. Oh, interesting. Errol Spence versus Mikey Garcia for March 16th, AT&T Stadium. Let's see what this says. So apparently, Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia are rumored to be fighting on March 16th at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Here's what it says in the boxing article below. It says, I quote, "Really? Really, computer? Computer just died on me." Basically, wait for my computer to come back on, but basically, Danny Garcia and Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence are supposed to be are looking at fighting at March 16th at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Obviously, this would be a big deal, particularly for Errol Spence, because he's been trying more so than ever, starting with his last fight against Carlos Ocampo. He fought Carlos Ocampo at the Dallas Cowboys practice facility, which is like 13,000, 14,000 seats, sold it out. And basically, they're trying to make Errol Spence a brand name in Dallas. Bringing the big fights to Dallas, making him a franchise in Dallas. He's developing a relationship with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So to fight a big name like Mikey Garcia at Cowboy Stadium, Mikey Garcia has proven to have a big fan base on the West Coast as well. Fighting in San Antonio as early as March this year, he did good numbers there. They're expected to make that big fight at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. So here's what the article says on Boxing Scene. It says, according to a report by the Los Angeles Times, the proposed showdown between Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence is heading to a date of March 16th at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's being reported that the site deal has been reached between the venue and Premier Boxing Champion. Showtime pay-per-view is expected to carry the bout. The two fighters have proved to be solid draws. For his July unification with Robert Easter Jr. in July, Garcia brought 12,560 fans to Staples Center in Los Angeles, and Spence's most recent bout sold out the Star, which holds 12,000 in Texas. While the site has been finalized, there are still certain terms that have to be hammered down between the fighters, and that's really it. So obviously, this is all hearsay. This is not finalized. There is no deal. There's no formal announcement, but at least we're getting a little somewhere here. So maybe I might start to believe just a little bit more, but I'm still going to be skeptical. But if the fight can get made, I think it'd be a great event for boxing. I think it'd be great to see Errol Spence get a big fight in Dallas at the AT&T Stadium. And it'd be good for just boxing in general to see two big names. Mikey going up, trying to be great, fighting a guy like Errol Spence who welterweights don't even want to fight. So, kudos to him if he actually signs a contract. But I've been very critical of Mikey Garcia. I think he's very much a diva. Very good fighter, but, just a diva who doesn't want to fight the best unless he gets, every last little thing his way. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, that's been reported today. Let's see what else we got. Romo Gonzalez will be fighting Pedro Guevara on December 8th in the HBO boxing finale. So what an honor, man. Romo Gonzalez to close out the HBO boxing franchise. That's pretty cool. What the hell is this? Wilder could strategize with Klitschko before he fights Fury. So apparently, Deontay Wilder is going to pick Klitschko's brain to see if he could, about fighting Fury and see what he can get out of Klitschko about fighting Fury. So that's interesting stuff. So kind of a slow news day in boxing. Not really too much going on right now, but I just wanted to make do this little hangout just so I could just talk about the World Boxing Super Series and review those performances. And who's here? Let's see. What are you guys talking about in the comments? Do you think Ryan Lafty says? Do you think Prograis is better than Josh Taylor? No. I don't think Prograis is better than Josh Taylor, but I don't think Josh Taylor is that much better than Prograis. I think it's if Josh Taylor's here, Prograis is right here. It's that close to me. That both the guys are, and that's how badly I want to see the fight so badly. Let's see. Ryan says just too skillful. Hold on. Ryan says just. But yeah, Taylor beats me every day of the week. Too fast and skillful. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's too fast for Prograis. Prograis is fast. He's really fast. The thing is, Prograis is a reflex fighter, and I'm not. Guys like Prograis, they tend to not be as good when they're older. But for the time being, when you're a you have to be quick. So I wouldn't say that Taylor's too quick. He might be slightly quicker or just as quick as Prograis, but they're dead even in a lot of categories to me. Ruby O'Donnell says, I rate Taylor very highly, not because I am Scottish, but because there's so many layers to him. Can fight at any range, mixes it up, has good shot selection, chin, speed, and can punch. He's going places. And I agree with you. This is a guy that I think, as long as he stays focused and continues to do whatever he's been doing, just keep doing the same thing in the gym. Just keep doing it because it's why he's done so much already in 14 fights. Keep doing it. Keep your head on straight, and this guy will be a unified champion. This guy will be a dominant 140-pound champion. And I feel the same way about Prograis. I think Prograis has the right mentality towards boxing. He'll be a dominant champion whatever weight class he steps foot in because he has the right mentality and the right skill set. So I think these are two of the best fighters. Forget 140 pounds. I think these two are two of the best fighters that America and Europe has to offer. I'll be honest with you. You said, Brendan, I want you to make a list of the top 10 fighters from America and Europe. List the fighters. These two names will come out of my mouth easily. And any one of the first couple names that come out of my mouth because both these guys, they just do so many things so well. So I go on for days about Prograis and Taylor, but I want to talk to you guys. Like, there's not a whole lot up here right now. There's only like 6 people because I kind of just did this spur of the moment. What do you guys want to talk about? Is there anything that I missed or videos or discrepancies or issues you have, anything I said in videos that you want to talk to me about? I'll be here for about a good 10, 15 more minutes. Rubio Donald says that I don't think Danny Garcia can lose his next big fight if he wants to be considered top level. He's been close in his last 2 elite level fights, but if he loses his next one, he can become the forgotten man. And I mean, that's true, and that's already kind of, in a way, it's kind of happening because, again, he didn't get outclassed in any of those fights, but a loss is a loss. In boxing, it's not like in boxing, you only got to be this much better than your opponent. That's it. You don't got to dominate them. All right, you should be this much better than your opponent on the night, and that's what's happened to him. Like the Thurman fight, I think there's an argument to be made that fight could have been a draw, and I could even start arguing in ways that Danny Garcia won that fight, but I'm not. I don't think it was an incredibly gross robbery like that. I think Danny left a lot to be desired in that fight. He fought well, but there were still things to be desired in that fight. There was definitely things to be desired in the Porter fight. And he just needs to refine his skill set, man. I've been saying this for like 3 years now, ever since the Peterson fight. And I just don't know. I don't know, man, because like once you're used to fighting a certain way for so long, it takes time to get a trainer or a team and build new habits. That takes multiple camps, multiple fights, and even then, sometimes fighters still revert back to type. So a guy that you trust, that you believe in, and that's really going to work with you on your skills. And I don't know. I feel a lot of times with Danny that it's too late for that. Like you stick with what's got you here, and you see how far it can get you. But he's had a crossroads in his career, so you got to look at like what's going to be the next big fight for Danny Garcia, right? So we know that he's been talking about fighting the winner of Pacquiao-Broner, and for his sake, I think the Broner fight would be really good for him because he would wipe the floor of Broner, like no doubt about it. Pacquiao fight would obviously be very tough because Pacquiao is still one of those top guys in the division, but it'd be tough to beat Pacquiao for him. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be tough for anyone to beat Pacquiao, but he can beat Pacquiao. He has the counterpunch style to do it, catch him with a shot. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm looking very forward to seeing how like the next 6 months play out for Danny Garcia in his career. What moves are made, if any, if Angel Garcia is still his trainer, if he gets any fights. I'm hoping for his sake that Al Haymon doesn't just put him on the shelf for 9 months. I think the best thing for him to do would be to get maybe 2-3 more months off, and by April you need to be boxing again. You need to be another stay busy fighter. Against a solid opponent. I wouldn't even mind like Chris Algieri's coming back to boxing. I wouldn't mind getting fighting. Chris Algieri's going to be having his return fight coming up soon. So why not try to get in there with a guy like Chris Algieri, a guy who's a former world champion, can box, can move, a guy that is going to give you good rounds, and right. So they're just looking at that. But yeah, man, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I've been really enjoying making videos again. It's been great. You know, it's been a tough year, but I'm so happy that I went through all this stuff I've been going through my life, because now I'm really enjoying boxing again. And it's, you know, I can't remember a time this year where boxing has been more enjoyable, because you know there's so many great things going on. You know, we have the World Box Super Series, we have you know, big fights like Usyk, Bellew. We have Pacquiao signing the PBC, and potential for big fights with PBC. You have Anthony Joshua, who just fought Povetkin. You have a big, a really good domestic fight, heavyweights for what's his name, White, Dillian White, and Derek Chisora. You know, you got Wilder fighting Fury. All pointing at what I think is a fight that I haven't even talked about enough. That's going to be an exciting fight. So I mean, there's a lot of good things going on in boxing, especially in December. It's always a good time of year in boxing, the latter stages of the year, and I'm just excited about it all, man. So not really getting a lot of interaction from you guys today, but regardless, I've been enjoying. I've enjoyed talking about the fights. Expect more Usyk Bellew coverage, because it's Wednesday, so the fight will be Saturday. So expect a barrage of Usyk Bellew videos coming out in the coming days, as well as any news that trickles out about boxing in the coming days. And you know, I'm probably gonna get off here. So you know, it was good talking to you guys. I'm gonna get off. Leave your comments down below. You know, take the time to subscribe, do all that good stuff. And like I say in every single gosh darn video, until next time, you know, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just getting dang. So until next time, take care, guys.